A bit of a wrinkle in Mayor Richard Berry's Albuquerque agenda known as the Plan. Check this out. Two Republican city councilors, Don Harris and Dan Lewis, moved money for bosque beautification and river trails from the city bond issue, and that frees up money for other projects and forces the mayor to find funding elsewhere, which he has done. But the mayor's supposed to have a friendly council. Tom, what's your read here? Because let's get right here. The projects are going to get done. It's the mechanisms are in question here. But these two guys had something in mind here, it seems to be. You know?
I mean, when you look at Councilor Lewis and Councilor Harris, you know, they have their own idea of how Albuquerque the plan should unfold, and the mayor has his plan. And so, you know, I think in a rare instance here, we have Republicans going up against Republicans, and the Democrats are just kind of going back, scratching their heads, going, "Huh? Wait, that's usually us in that particular position." But yeah, good news is it's all going to get done. Hopefully, it does, because you know, really improving the city's quality of life is so key to attracting business and just really improving the quality of life for all New Mexicans.
Absolutely, Lana. You know what's interesting about this, when that city council hearing came up, you know, the budget went from 110 to 115, but there were significant increases in other areas, like animal shelters went from 600 grand to almost double. Which is what folks have been looking for years. So I'm telling you, they take care of those animals. They take care of us. However, this does not mean we're in the clear financially here. We don't have significant job growth here. It seems to me we're just trying to creep into something and do something for the citizens, but not spend a whole ton of money. Is everyone on safe ground here? Council's going to be okay? Mayor's going to be okay? What's your sense of it?
Yeah, I don't see that anyone's at risk.
Yeah.
There's no risk to what's going on here. I mean, they're still unfolding the same plan. Maybe it's going a different direction. It's being funded differently, but there's no risk.
Well, there is a risk if you fund capital projects out of operating funds in terms of you can let down your core services, your museums. Those are quality of life.
Fire departments, police.
More importantly, fire and police. And those monies are then diverted to beautification projects.
And I think you'd agree, Senator. What happened? I think you know you kind of was saying what happened. You know, on the operating funds, the administration runs those. On the capital expenditures, the city council gets to do those. So if they would have said, Mayor, we're going to let you do all that you want with the capital expenditures, and then we expect you to take care of some of our needs in your operating budget, it's hard to control the mayor with that, because the mayor can say we got other issues. So what you do here is the battle between the legislative and the executive. You say we're going to change up the plan. You go find the money for the things you want outside of this plan. Take it out of your operating. Do what you want to do with it. But we're going to make sure that our stuff is taken care of, stuff on the west side. You know, you look at the stuff that those councilors were working on, it's really stuff in their areas and their districts.
You're getting to where I was getting at.
So,
exactly.
So, you know, I think it's funny, you know, you asked Lana if anybody was in trouble, and I said, you know, I was laughing. The reason I was laughing was not at your answer, is because I have yet to find when any governmental entity has been in trouble for spending more money. They just seem to spend it. And so, you know, as long as they get it done, I don't think anybody's going to be angry. But the minute they hold somebody up, you'll have somebody angry.
That's true. But, Senator, there is issues with bonds. Folks are naturally queasy about bonds versus just a straight pool of money in capital expenditures. Because even though they're paid for, even though as one bond expires, the next one coming in just replaces it. There's a thing about bonds, isn't there?
Well, people think that it's going to raise their taxes, which it doesn't, but it's a hard myth to dispel. But just, I couldn't agree with Dan more on this. This is a natural, this is a natural tension between the council and the mayor, the executive and the legislative. And the mayor is supposed to be looking out for the whole city and citywide projects, and the governor statewide projects, and each individual councilor gets their little piece of the pie. What's happening, though, I think, is that some of the councilors are overreaching in some ways and wanting more for their districts. I mean, we just saw a big redistricting of the city council where one district disappeared in the middle of the city. It happens to be where I live and in the center of the city, and where the Bosque is. And so there is going to be much less capital going to that area now, because it's only one district instead of two districts.
But the mayor has to be scratching his head, like you were saying, kind of like Tom was saying. You know, you expect to head up to the ring, get in the ring and start the fight, and there's your opponent. And then you come back in between rounds and they're dinging you in the ribs as you're sitting there, your own guys, and you're going, I mean, come on, I can't battle all these fronts at one time.
Right.
But there's always been some tension between this administration and these two counselors. Despite the same party.
That's right.
There's always been some consternation between Councilor Harris and Lewis and Mayor Berry. The bad news, I think, for Councilor Lewis and for Councilor Harris is the guy who keeps coming out on top, I think, is Mayor Berry, because I think his popularity it's still amazing at how high his popularity is amongst people in Albuquerque, Democrats even. I mean, he is off the charts. But if you know him, I mean, I know the mayor very well. He's a very good guy. He's, what you see is what you get. He's a likable guy. And I do think he has the beauty of following a very tough politician in Marty Chavez, who was a very good but tough politician, and he comes off as the non-politician guy, and I think he's still riding that. I wouldn't be picking a fight with him.
You anticipated a name, though, with Mayor Chavez. Interesting, Alana, that Dan just mentioned that, because that administration had a share of capital project problems.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of ways to play games with capital projects and capital money. But to go to Dan's point, the sense is, and the question to you is, the sense about this mayor and how he handles money. Are you feeling like he's a steady hand at the wheel there, keeping the wild expenditures down? What's your sense of his angle of attack on how money works here?
Well, he's certainly trying to do that, and he certainly wants the voters to perceive that that's what's going on. Obviously, he has to work with the legislative branch.
Right. Is there any political downside to this plan, by the way?
Well,
is this too esoteric for some voters here to choke down? Is this a difficulty for some people? Didi, you had a thought on that?
Well, when you do nothing but keep everything even, then where are the new jobs? What happens with economic development? We once had a stealth mayor. And I think that this is almost coming close to that. But meanwhile, we are stagnating economically. And so unless he comes forward with some kind of initiative, and this is what we expect from leaders,
but in his defense, Senator, far be it from me to defend the Republican, but in his defense, I think the problems with the city of Albuquerque are a systemic problem for New Mexico, the region, and the country. And I think what the mayor has done a good job of, he's really, I think, come off as a center-right person. He hasn't come off as an extremist. He's come off as someone who's listening to both sides. He's including beautification things in there, environmental things in there that normally Republicans are, attacked for not being for the bosque, not being for bike paths, and he seems to be leading the charge on a lot of this stuff, which is why I think he's riding so high in popularity. And again, I mean, not that Councilor Harris or Councilor Lewis are going to take any advice from me, and I'm not in the political consulting game. I would not be picking a fight with R.J. Berry. The mayor, I think, is thought of very, very highly in this community, and I think it's the wrong guy to start getting angry with. And I think eventually he may swing. And when he swings, I wouldn't want to be in
it's going to happen in any political race. It's going to happen. Someone's going to swing at him. He's going to swing back. It's just going to happen. Tom, one of the things that didn't make it was his idea about an innovation center. That this may be a little unfair to you, but this came up during. UNM had a big confab about economic development some months back when Dr. Frank came in as president. And this is modeled off of something out of Gainesville, Florida, this innovation center. Basically ties a lot of high-tech hub things together. But we didn't get the funding for it out of council. But it does say something about where this mayor, I think, sees the potential in this city. And am I wrong on that? Because it's a very interesting idea.
He does see the potential. In fact, I don't think he's anywhere close to Senator Feldman's point of becoming the stealth mayor of Mayor Luis Saavedra's past and stuff. But I think you hit on probably his greatest weakness, which is the economic development. He does seize the greater vision. Bernalillo County also has that same kind of vision of creating tech centers. They just both have different ways of going about it. The fact that nothing is materialized, I think, could become a thorn in his side. But when you look at somebody who's involved in the community, really listening to constituents, really Mayor Berry is heads and tails above any previous.
And I can tell you, the technology community here is looking for some light from somebody. They really are.
And Gene, I would say also, I think that he has one of the things that I think he understands well. He has a very, very strong tie with the University of New Mexico. Mayor Berry does, and I think Mayor Berry is really working hard not to go replicate things that the university can do, but find ways to partner with the university and empower them to do more for the community.
But something needs to happen.
I agree.
That's right. Something needs to correct. Up next, the return of our American Graduate Series.